Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, so I got this video and one more to shoot, and then putting up the microscope and the TV and getting back to making knives. One today is these shears, okay? These are the shears that my wife uses in the garden. Use it for trimming, real small branches around, my house and everything. And then I took them with me the other day to get some cuttings off of a plum tree that I'm going to try to root, and well, I've already set them all up, so we'll have to wait for a couple of weeks and see how they work. But these are starting to get dull. I want to say this is the first time these have ever been sharpened, besides by the factory. These are just Fiskars, regular garden shears, I guess. So anyway, so the other day I sharpened up a set for the florist at Safeway, just down the street where I get most of the flowers for my wife. I usually like getting her flowers, once a month or once every other month, something like that, just so that, just so she knows I care. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead, and the ones the florist had, they were quite a bit older, and they only had one screw to take them apart to be able to sharpen them. These ones are a little bit more involved than that, but we're going to get it done and go ahead and show you how to sharpen these freehand on an oil stone. Okay, let's get after it. Okay, so I guess we can look at this underneath the microscope right quick since we have it out. It's kind of there's not really a whole lot of edge to look at here though, so we'll back it out considerably. Come on. Okay, that's as high out as we can go, so we'll have to zoom in at least a little bit to bring it into focus. Okay. So anyhow, so this here is the edge. No, that's the other side. Ah, here's our edge. You can see, well, it looks like, yeah, there we go. It's got all that paint and nastiness on it. And it's really not in that bad of a shape at the back part. The forward part, you can see, has got some chipping. Some chipping and some chunks that are missing and, all that kind of stuff. They're really not in all that bad of a shape. But we're going to go ahead and clean them up because they're not making nice clean cuts for them. So, you could go ahead and, sharpen these while they're put together. Okay, if you were to grab like, a stick and wrap some sandpaper around it and be able to get up in there and clean your edge up. And that's totally fine. In fact, that's what I might do with this the next time. But in the interest of making a pretty good video, we're going to go ahead and take these apart. They're a little bit on the complicated side, I think. So we got to take this screw out here. This is our lock button. Okay, so we can pop that out. Then there we go. Let's take this nut right here off. Okay, and then we take this screw out. Okay, so now we can pull this pin. Well, pin / bolt, it's threaded on the end. Okay, then that lets your spring tension go. Now we pull out this screw, and then there's a spacer right in there, so don't lose that. So we pull that screw, pull that spacer. Now the whole thing comes apart. So this right here would be like your anvil, the thing that holds whatever it is that you're going to be cutting still, so that this part can come in and shear it. Okay, this right here has just got a leaf spring inside there. Right there, you can kind of see it moving back and forth. That's what gives you, your tension there. Okay, so first of all, we're kind of dirty. Maybe I should have cleaned them up first. Let's see. Here's a utility knife. We'll take it and kind of scrape the big gunk out of here. Okay, so that's enough that we can at least see what we're working with here. Now the anvil, it looks really good. In fact, we might just give it a light hit on the stone. All this is, no, we'll do that on the India stone, or the Arkansas stone. So what we're going to work with here today is this brand new Norton Fine India. Let's get some more of this gunk off of here first. There we go. We're going to work with a Norton Fine India to do all of our shaping and everything, because there's not really a whole lot of shaping to do. We do have some nicks up in here. We'll probably just sharpen everything and not worry about taking all the nicks out, because you're always going to end up getting nicks in these. So anyway, so the way these things work is that this side right here is going to be flat, okay? Or it may even have, a very gradual hollow grind in there. This side right here is going to be chisel ground or convex ground, okay? So you can see how you've got your flat that comes all the way up to here, then you've got your blade grind that goes down to here, and then you have your edge grind right there, all right? So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and just sharpen this as if it was a knife, because basically it is a knife. It's just a knife on a pivot. Now, since this is only ground on one side, we really only want to sharpen it on one side. Okay, now you can see right there, actually, let's grab the microscope for this. We don't normally have this, but since it's out and everything, let's go ahead and use it. Okay, so this right here is the painted black part, right? So this is part of your blade bevels. This right here, the shiny strip here, is what I've been doing on the stone. And then this part right here is the edge that hasn't been touched. You can also tell that, I was hitting the wrong one. With the naked eye, with whatever it is that you're sharpening in front of you. Okay, so I can't show you what my naked eye sees here in the shop. This camera just won't focus on, that range of type stuff. But this is kind of like using the magic marker trick, right? Where you take the magic marker and you mark up your edge. Okay, well, once you get used to doing it that way, you can do it like this, where you don't need a magic marker. You just look at the scratch pattern, okay? So right here where we've been contacting is nice bright steel that's got a scratch pattern going this way, okay? This right here is the factory edge. It's not nice and bright. This is part of paint, but on an older knife you'll see a little bit of corrosion, a little bit of gunk, a little trash, whatever. But that scratch pattern is going this way. So when I get the scratch pattern from here to here to continue, go all the way to the very edge, then it will create a burr on the other side, and then I'll know that this edge is done on this side. And then since this is a single ground knife, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and polish this on the soft Arkansas stone, and then shear off the burr on the back half. Now I know you guys are going to be saying, wait a minute, polish? But this is Joe. Joe doesn't like polished edges. And you would be right. There are very few times that I like polished edges. Okay, I like to shave my face with a polished edge. And shearing tools, it seems to me, benefit from a polished edge. Okay, so And this is one of those things that one of these days, next time I get around to making some big choppers, I need to start playing more with polished edges on big choppers. The reason that I don't normally do that is because a big chopper or an axe, sure, they might benefit from a polished edge, but my problem is that, you know, I typically work out in the real world, right? In the real world, your chopper edge generally gets wrecked before it wears out. Okay? So you might want to spend, you know, an extra 20 or 30 minutes putting a polished edge on a machete, right? Well, the second you have to cut anything that's close to the ground, you're going to hit rocks. And that polished edge is not going to resist those rocks. Or, let's say you've got to cut something next to a chain link fence. Well, guess what? That machete, polished edge or no, the second it contacts that chain link fence, that edge is done. So, while a polished edge might actually work better on large chopping implements, I generally don't put them on there because they're just too hard to maintain. Whereas a coarse edge, you know, I might be able to put one of those on or touch one up in, you know, 3 to 5 minutes. A polished edge might take me 20 or 30 minutes, you know, to do on a machete. And they're both going to get wrecked just the same when they hit rocks or steel or a nail in a tree or, you know, whatever it is that you're going to likely hit. Okay, so we're starting to get a burr on most of it. We still need it back here. Oh, I guess I can show you that on the scope. Because this right here is probably about the most important part of sharpening. And that's knowing what it is that you're doing. And looking and being able to tell what it is that you're doing. Okay, so let's actually try this at a lower magnification. That'll make it easier to kind of hold it still and keep it somewhat in focus. Okay, so let's get all the way to the tip. There's the tip. Okay, see how that scratch pattern goes from the shoulder of the edge off, or to the edge and off of it? That means that we're done all the way down there. That right there is fabric off of the towel that I used to wipe the oil off of. There's a little bit of that chip left. Now right back in here is the part that, like I said, that we're not done with yet. And we've just got this little section left. That is from here to there. So it shouldn't take too long. Yeah, so the polished edges on choppers, axes, machetes, you know, things like that. You know, it's one of those things that, yes, I do think that a polished edge is better as far as, you know, how long that tool will hold the edge. But you always have to balance efficiency in the cut versus efficiency in maintenance. Okay, so we are done all the way. We've got a burr. Bring you over here. You can see that. Okay, there's this little bitty spot right here that doesn't have it, but honestly, that's really close to the pivot area. And so that part probably will not contact anything that we're going to be pruning anyway. Okay, now we can look at the other side. And you can see that burr right there. See this glint of light at the very, very edge? That's where that steel is rolled this way. That's why it's catching the light different than this stuff. Alright? So now what we got to do is polish this up. So the reason that I'm going to go with a polished edge on this, when I would not go with a polished edge on an axe or chopper or a machete is because these are, like I said, so these are pruning shears, all right, which means they actually shear whatever it is that they're cutting instead of, you know, they cut on a push cut instead of on a draw cut. And it's not likely that you're going to be cutting staples with these, okay? Although the one that I sharpened up for the florist, it looked like it had been used to shear or to cut staples several times. But you know how that goes. Those are community tools. So the florist, you know, she might not ever cut staples with her nice pruning shears. But, you know, her coworker that comes in the afternoons, you know, I think there's been 3 or 4 of them over the last couple of years. You know, they probably don't care at all. And this right here is my soft arc, and it is lapped to about a 220 grit finish. Because it seems like that's where it likes to be the most. Lapped like that, it's still an aggressive stone, and it still leaves an edge that has some tooth to it, but it also has some polish to it at the same time. And it's an edge that I'm honestly kind of enjoying for things that might get used in a push cutting sort of way. Okay, so we got that burr refined. Our scratch pattern looks really nice. You know, everything looks nice and clean. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and we've got that big old burr on the back side, right? Well, we don't want to really shear it off with micro bevels on the back side. So we'll just put the blade flat on the stone and kind of clean that up some. Because this is the side that's going to be contacting the anvil, and so it needs to be pretty flat, but it shouldn't have a burr on there either. So I am raising this up just, oh my goodness, like a degree or two. Basically, when I hold it to the stone, I'm putting a little bit more pressure on this side than I am on this side, and that's about all the angle change I'm doing. And we almost got it. No, there's that one little stubborn spot right there. Still. Alright, we'll raise the angle up just a hair more. There, okay. And we are going to micro bevel it. This stone, like I said, it's cutting at about 600 to 800 grit. So it's not really going to remove a whole lot of metal. Need it up in the tip. A little bit more back here. There we go. Now let's see what we got. Naked eye, you can see we got that nice polished edge bevel right there. Then in the scope, we got this nice polished looking thing, and that's just bits and pieces of, you know, oil, and it looks pretty nice, huh? There's that chip that's still there. Honestly, we're going to leave it there. It'll come out in the next 2 or 3 sharpenings. And there's no sense in wearing down the whole tool just to get rid of that one little spot. Okay, so we are done with sharpening there. And then, like I said, this anvil here, it looks like it's in really good shape. There's no big nicks or dings or anything there. So let's put the knife back, or the knife. We'll put the shears back together again. Okay, so right here, you're forcing up against the spring, all right? So, I'm going to force the spring back and get that bolt in. Now that we got that bolt in, the hard part's done. Alright, so now we take our anvil, and that anvil is going to come in behind the blade, and we got to pull that pin out because it's got to go through both the blade and the anvil. You also got to be careful because remember, we got this blade sharp now. There we go. Okay, so we got our anvil in and we got our blade in. Now let's go ahead and put our nut on the back just to kind of make sure it stays in there. Okay, now we've got this half of the screw, but remember we've got, you know, these have got to stay apart. So we put that spacer back in here, drop the front half of that screw in, get it in position, thread the other half of the screw in through the back, we'll just snug these down. We don't want them, you know, really tight because then you know, things won't pivot the way they should. That's not quite the right size for these. Okay, now we got a little bit of extra play. So let's hold that down there and then grab the pliers and tighten these down by hand. That feels about right. Okay, there's no play or very little. And then there's enough looseness that the spring can push it back. So now we need our lock. I don't think this part really matters which way it goes. Okay. So we can close them, lock them, unlock them, open them up and down. Everything looks nice and clean. Let's grab a branch. This is another plum tree that I was identifying. It's not really the type of plum that I want to keep. Apparently this is an American plum. That leaf is all curled up. There's one that's not curled up too bad. There it is. Now these plums right here, the place that they're at, this year they didn't produce at all. Last year they did, but the plums are about that long, and generally speaking, just about the time that you think that they might be getting ready, a frost comes and kills them, and then they turn just bitter as hell. So I won't be making any more of these plums. I have thought about grafting the other plum onto some of these and see if that works. So I might try some of that too. So anyway, so these shears up in here weren't doing too bad. Let's see what they do now. Oh, nice. And look at that polished, sort of a polished looking cut. Where these were not cutting very well was up towards the tip. Oh, that's really nice now. Yeah. Up towards the tip there, they were mashing things instead of cutting. And now it's cutting with hardly any pressure. Now up in the middle section. Yeah, those are going to be good to go now. Now I'm just going to have to warn my wife because she uses these quite a bit. And you know, if I sharpen stuff and then don't warn her about it, you know, she'll grab a hold of them and squeeze really hard, and then it'll just, you know, snap right through it, and it'll surprise her, and I don't really want to do that. So oh, and like I said, so the reason that I took these things apart, you know, to be able to show you how to sharpen them freehand, was mostly so that you could see everything really nice. Okay, so now that we've got the angles of the edge set and everything, you know, for the next, heck, in the next couple of months or the next year, depends on how hard we use them, you know, they just might need a tune-up. All right, so in a situation like that, you can use like a slipstone, or like one of these, like these little bitty diamond rods. You know, you can, something like that you can, you know, kind of fix it and then get up in there and tune the edge up. Or, you know, a stick or a pencil or something with some sandpaper wrapped around, you can get up in there. Up in here is really kind of tough to get like that, but since I took them apart, now you see everything that you need to do. So if you need to do it with a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a stick, you should be able to do that. So anyway, so if you've got some dull garden shears, get your bench stone out, take them apart, clean them all up, get them sharpened again, and they'll work an awful lot better for you. This is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.